Hey everybody, it's Meredith Miller, your inner integration coach. I'm here answering more questions for your Sana Q&A Mondays. This one says, "Good afternoon, Meredith, and thank you for all of your hard work. I really have enjoyed the progress I've been making while watching you. My question for you is, how do you know that you're cutting off these relationships for toxic reasons, or if these people are just reminding you of people from your past? I have suffered from people pleasing and being codependent. I have a lot of dead relationships, 6 total in the last 18 months. Now, in some of them, I have had second thoughts about terminating. I've been asking myself, are they really toxic for me, or did they just do something that triggered me? Maybe I was the problem? How do you cope with the doubt? You can't cut everyone that's selfish." I think she means you can't cut everyone out that's selfish. P.S. I went back to my original comment to try to edit it, but I wasn't able to. Please ignore the long-winded version. Thank you for any advice. Okay, yay for progress. Great job. That's you doing the work. That is fantastic, and I'm so happy that my videos are helping you. So to answer your question, yeah, sometimes house cleaning when it comes to these toxic relationships might mean that there's like almost no one left. Like it might be that you have one friend left standing, or one cousin or someone close to you that's left in your life that you realize is not a toxic person, is actually a healthy person who's working on personal development and healing themselves as well, right? And it might be that that's the reality. It was my case, this year I went through and I just like cleaned out all of these toxic relationships from my life and set new boundaries with the one, with my mother, that I'm not ready to completely cut off because of my father especially. So you need to decide for you what works best. And if you got those people out of your life, it was probably for a reason. And yeah, you don't owe selfish people anything. So be willing to walk away from selfish people, even if it means that you're going to be alone, even if it means that you're not going to have a lot of friends, or really even any friends in your life for a period of time. Right? Nature abhors a vacuum. The universe goes to fill in where there's a vacuum. So as you move out of your life all these toxic people, and you move out of your life all of like the energetic, mental, and emotional connections you have to them, right? Because even if they're not in your life, but if you're constantly reliving things and thinking about things, it's as if they're still in your life. Because remember, your mind can't tell the difference between what's really happening, and what you're imagining or what you're remembering. So if you're constantly remembering and imagining things that happen and you're going over and over things, it's like that person is still in your life, right? So there's no vacuum yet. The universe isn't going to go fill that in yet. Get the wrong people out of your life. Get the selfish people out of your life. Don't feel bad about that. And then you have some time to focus on you, to focus on your self-healing. If there's no one else around, self-care. If there's nothing else you can control in your life, radical self-care. It's always there for you. It's always something you can do. There's always some form of self-care that you can practice in that moment to take care of yourself. And the more you take care of yourself, the more you're going to be resonating at a kind of energetic level where you want to be, where the kinds of friends and people that you want in your life are going to be at. And then you will start attracting those people into your life. So don't be afraid of being alone. Don't be afraid of cutting out all these people from your life. Don't be afraid of realizing that, wow, like maybe most of the people in your life were selfish, and it was time to get them out of your life so that you recognize that you're worth more than that. That happens to so many of us, especially those of us who grew up in those kinds of dynamics, or was conditioned from the very beginning of life. And it was like this deep programming, these old tapes that we have that we just assumed, well, that's just how it is, right? You talked about feeling triggered. Am I feeling triggered, or are they really selfish and toxic? I would ask yourself and look into, why are you feeling triggered? What was it that triggered you? Are they doing the exact same covert aggressive manipulation tactics that the other toxic people in your life are doing? Then you made the right choice. It's why you felt triggered. Something was reminding you that looks and felt and is just like the kind of abuse that you experienced before in your life, and you don't want that in your life. Or are you over analyzing something? Are you over experiencing something that's not really there? chances are, if your intuition is feeling triggered by something, that something's not right. Okay, you might not notice, and then all of a sudden, it's like your best friend does something, and you're like, oh my God, that's exactly what my mom would do. And your mom's the narc, right? And so then you recognize like who your friend is, and you're like, oh my God, your friend is just like your mom. Like you literally are surrounding yourself with your mom still. It just looks different, right? So really recognize those things and honor your intuition. Only you know the answer to this. I can only give you some guidelines and some experience of my own from working in my own life and from coaching other people to work in their own life on this issue. And this is a big issue for a lot of people. Like a lot of people that I have worked with one-on-one in coaching, you know, they start setting these new boundaries, they start getting the toxic people out of life, and they realize like, wow, there's very few left, you know, and it's okay. It's okay to get the wrong people out of your life and to decide that you're not going to settle for breadcrumbs anymore, because there is cake to be had. There is cake to be enjoyed in life. You do not have to settle for little crumbs of that. You know, and remember too, it's your life, right? You get to set the boundaries and the standards of your life, and no one else can tell you what those are and what they need to be and whether they're right or wrong. You get to set those, and you set those boundaries and standards based on your values and your dreams, what you want in life, what feels like it's an integrity for you in your life. Only you get to decide that. So if anybody else in your life is trying to tell you that you're wrong, that you need to do this for them and you need to accept this from them and blah, 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 toxicity, say no to that stuff. You know, you decide, right? It's your decision. Do you want to put up the boundary? Do you want to cut this person out of your life who's toxic and draining you and making you feel like crap and making you feel guilty and ashamed, or just outright violating your boundaries? Or do you want to embrace loneliness and take care of yourself? You know, it's like one or the other. You either stay in those toxic relationships and you just keep expending your energy and giving your time to that and like allowing all those little seeds of doubt to plant in your mind and constantly working at gardening, right? So you can get those out before they become like full-blown weeds growing in your garden. So you get to decide that. You choose who you surround yourself with. And, you know, like I remind you guys, I've heard from business coaches for a long time, and this just applies to everything, not just business. The few people, you know, the 5 or so people, the handful of people that you most surround yourself with, you become like them, right? So think about those people in your life. You know, what Dr. Sean Stevenson, I think I mentioned before, right? Dr. Sean Stevenson calls us your pit crew, you know, in car racing, right? The cars like race and race and race, and like the tires get burned, they need gas, they need, you know, whatever goes on in the cars. I don't know, I'm not a mechanic, but they got to pull off the racetrack, and then it's like this swarm of like 5 or 6 people comes around the car, and they're just doing stuff. Everybody's got a job. It's like change the tires, fill the air, do this, do that, right? And they've got you. That's your pit crew, and you've got them when they're in that position, right? That's who you want in your life. Those are the people you want to surround yourself with. Don't fill those spots with people who don't have your back. Do you have their back? And then every time you need someone to get your back, they don't have your back? Those are not your friends. You don't want those people in your pit crew, right? Those are not helpful people to have around you. That's not mutually reciprocal, uplifting, and supportive relationships. So really take a good inventory and recognize that it might be that your pit crew is empty for a while, right? You're not racing, right? You're taking care of yourself. You're doing maintenance, right? The self-care acts. And then slowly, little by little, you start to meet these people, and more people start to come in your life that are of kindred spirits, that are treating you with mutual respect, that are valuing you like you value them, right? So it's really important to recognize that, you know, it's your choice who you allow in your life. And this thing you said, you know, maybe I was the problem. That's the phrase all of us codependents used, right? Because the narcissist, the psychopath, the sociopath, the borderline, they convince you it's all your fault. It's all your problem. You know, you're to this and you're to that and you're not enough this or that. Yeah, sure. We had the responsibility of enabling it, of rationalizing it, of putting up with it, right? But it wasn't our character disturbance. That was on them. That wasn't your fault. You weren't the problem. You contributed to the problem by enabling it. That's what you did. You allowed the problem to go on by enabling it. And maybe, and probably, you did some things that were out of integrity. I will admit that. And I think most of us have. They convince you to do that. And then as soon as you do those things out of integrity, that's what they use as that tool to keep manipulating you with your guilt all along. It's very dirty, that trick. So recognize that you had the responsibility of enabling it, but you were not the problem. They were wrong by abusing you, by manipulating you, by using you. Okay, that wasn't you. They tried to convince you that it was all your fault, that it was your problem. So we need to delete and reprogram those old mental conditionings, those old mental tapes, those old belief systems. Okay, the self-responsibility of owning that now, that you enabled it by staying, by rationalizing, by excusing it, but you're not doing that anymore. So you're taking responsibility of your life now and moving forward and recognizing, I'm not gonna enable that anymore, right? I'm not gonna accept that in my life anymore. No more of that, right? So it wasn't your fault, and ask yourself, if your second thoughts, you describe these second thoughts, right? If your second thoughts are like, that you feel lonely and that you miss the company of so-and-so in your life because, when this was going on, you always used to call so-and-so and you guys would connect on that. But when you really think about it, right, it's better to embrace the loneliness and take care of yourself than to get yourself back into those toxic, draining, exhausting friendships and relationships. So it's up to you. I recommend doing some inner soul searching. I recommend journaling about it. Sometimes it's just so much more helpful to see it written down. And even when you're writing it down or talking to yourself and then writing it down, sometimes you work out these things just talking to yourself. You don't have to feel weird about that, right? Write it down. It's how you get insights. Maybe there's no one else to talk to in your life. Talk to yourself. Write it down in your journal. It's like having a dialogue with yourself. Things will come out. You'll notice things that you didn't notice before. Right? You'll get some new insights, you'll get some new direction for moving forward, and it's all going to come from inside you, from what you know that you need to do to follow your own path. I'm sending you a big hug.